Well, I'll go ahead and just do some announcements right now, and I'll also close with these announcements. But first, thanks for being here. Looking forward to this presentation by Mark. First announcement, today is the last day of the ActionFlow Peace and Profits early registration. So that's our user conference that we host about every year, every other year, depending on how everything's going. But this year, it'll be April 7th through the 9th in St. Louis, Missouri. And today is the last day for the early bird registration. So if you haven't done that yet, save yourself a little bit of money on that. I'm going to put the link in the chat here for you to check that out. The agenda has been posted. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everyone there. Synchronous Solutions will be there. Fabricator's Choice will be there. They're our platinum sponsors, so we're thankful for that. And it's a great time, whether you're using ActionFlow or you're not, you can come speak with fabricators that are actually using the software, learn how other people are using it.
Nothing.
And then
Nothing.
We also have lots of sessions on how to take advantage of the software, and we do some fun stuff there as well. So no go-karts this year, though, just to let everyone down, let them down now. We figured you can only do go-karts so many times before people get tired of that. But be sure you register for that. We'll also be at the All Slab Fabbers event in Aiken, South Carolina, March 20th and 21st. So if you're down in that region, definitely come check it out. Those guys are great. I'm putting that registration link in the chat as well. So we'll be down there. And then we'll also be at the SFA workshop in Florida, March 27th and 28th. So I'm putting that link in the chat as well. So we'd love to see you at any or all of those events. And so with that, I'll go ahead and introduce Mark. We've got Mark Phelps here. He's going to do a chat on shop efficiency with us. He's been with Synchronous Solutions and tons of valuable insights. We're really appreciative of him taking the time here to kind of walk through getting more work through your shop and hopefully save you some gray hairs or actual hair as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you, Kyle, and welcome everybody to this webinar on shop efficiency. As Kyle said, we're about getting more work through your plant with less chaos. All right, so thank you to ActionFlow for putting on this webinar, and I do want to encourage everybody to make it to Peace and Profits. Again, as Kyle said, that link is there in the chat. So really look forward to talking to you guys in person in St. Louis. Here coming up very soon at Peace and Profits. All right. So we're going to talk about efficiency, but a little bit about who are we to talk about efficiency. And we're Synchronous Solutions. There's the team there in our meeting room. That's our conference room. we're located spread out across the country, but we're all about making more money in your business without the chaos. So the goal is improve your shop's efficiency with systems and team empowerment. We do that in a number of ways, but we've got 25 years working with countertop fabricators, and to do just that, to eliminate the chaos, to improve profitability, and along the process to bring balance back and get people back access to their life. I'm a major believer that business can be a phenomenal tool, and it's a tool for our lives. Our lives are not meant to go to work and do business. We go to work and do business so that our lives can be better. So making sure that that is in context is also a big part of what this is. So much chaos causes our work to, one, not pay off the way we want it to, and two, not be as fun as it otherwise might be. So let's dive into making that happen for you guys. All right, so first let's agree on shop efficiency. What are we talking about when we talk about shop efficiency? And so my question to you guys is, what do you want your shop to be efficient at? All right. So hopefully you guys can engage in the chat. You can jump in there. But what do you want your shop to be efficient at? All right, no answers in the chat, but the goal for your shop is, well, let's see. You've invested a whole lot of money into your shop and into your team. Okay. And so you want to get the greatest return on that investment and on the team's effort. So what do we need the shop to do? We need to squeeze more and more money out of your existing shop. So we need to process more jobs, get stuff through our CNCs, through our routers, through our fabrication, to our install crews and where it needs to be, which is in our customers' homes, the way it ought to be. All right, so the goal for the shop is about making more money with the resources we have. So one approach to shop efficiency might be to go out there and buy more equipment and expand and redesign your shop for more through it. In this case, we want to focus on using the resources you have and getting more out of those resources. So how do we measure this goal of squeezing more money through our shop? All right, so we have 3 measures that we teach with all the folks that we work with. There's several folks on this call who are very familiar with these measures, but it's throughput, inventory, and operating expense. Throughput, the big word, the big $T word that, of course, we're very happy to be partnered with ActionFlow on, who has made sure that this is a part of their system and a part of the thinking of the organization. So throughput, in its most basic definition, is the rate at which a business generates money from sales. It's the value add. So we take our revenue, we calculate throughput by taking our revenue, we subtract out the totally variable expenses. These are all the expenses that if you didn't have the revenue, if you didn't have the sale, you wouldn't incur the expenses, right? So they go hand in hand there. That's typically your materials. So your slabs, your sinks, those sort of things, we take those out, and what we're left with is our throughput dollars, our $T. All right. Now our other measure is inventory. Inventory is the money invested in purchasing items to sell. So it includes your raw materials, it includes your work in progress. This is anything that is being worked on that has not yet become throughput. All right. That's inventory. And our third measure, operating expense, this is everything else. This is all the money spent, invested in turning that inventory into throughput. All right. So it's basically anything that's not totally variable expenses. Those are your 3 key measures. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to leverage those measures in your shop as we track it. So first off, we want our $T, we want it to go up. We want to see how much $T we can get through our shop. OE, we want to maintain or lower. We don't want to invest more OE. We want to try to keep that under control. We want to identify the waste areas where we got things that don't add up, where we're spending what we ought not be spending, and get that under control. When we put our $T over our OE, this provides us with the metric that you got to want to make sure you track, which is productivity score. This is how we determine how productive your shop is or how efficient it is. So any given time you can measure. So for the year, you can say how much throughput did we generate over the course of the year over what's the OE that we spent over the course of the year. And ideally, if you want to be profitable, your $T are higher than your OE spend. If they're equal, that's break even. But we're not here to break even. We're here to profit. All right. So we want $T up, OE down. We get $T over OE. We have our metric that we're going to guide and we're going to learn to use. See, the goal is money flow. So we want to track that productivity score. We want to track our productivity not only yearly, but daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, so we can break it down. So if your OE is, you know what it is, you budgeted for it, you have a good idea what that is on an annual basis, you can divide that by 4 for your quarters, you can divide that by 12 for your months, 50, 52 for your weekly, and you can divide that down into your working days. All right. Now, the other part of it is what allows money to flow is the flow of the work, the material and the information flows. And we teach synchronous flow because we want to get everything flowing together in a way that makes sense for your business. So we're focused on how does the work flow, the material, but we're also focused on how does the information flow. So many times work is trying to flow, but hey, we're missing information. We don't have the information we need because it's hung up somewhere else, or it's still in the head or the mind of the customer. So we need not only our material to flow through our shop, we also need the information to flow through the shop. Shop efficiency is all about flow. So that's going to be our focus today. Flow, specifically synchronous flow. All right, so step one of getting efficient is mapping your flows. What must be done to add value and make money? Start to finish. We need the content that we're working on. All right, the content. We need everything, every step of the process all the way through. What are the steps? What has to be done? All right. Next, we need to put them into sequence. All right, so we need to sequentially say what order do the steps go in. Then we need to figure out a timing. We need to know about when should those, what time period should these activities take place in. All right, and not everything is super easy to aim on this, but we know when it gets into our production, there should be an expected amount of time that it takes. And then we need to have our outcomes determined. Our outcomes is how we manage the flow, what the end product looks like, what's the quality of that. And ultimately you end up with what we call an engine. And this is a visual of that flow being defined as we define it with your teams and with many of the companies that we work with from start to finish. There's an engine and a cadence and a flow and a buffering to how your marketing and sales works, to how your sales process, your customer service, your project management works, your pre-production and your production, how those things take place. And we've got gates and things that keep us on there. So we want to know what's the outcome we're aiming for. All right, so mapping your flows is step one with content, sequence, timing, and outcome. What does it take from the point a customer shows up in your door or on your phone, all the way through to you've provided them with the value and you've invoiced them and received money. Okay, that's our system that we've now defined, and we've explained out what's it doing. All right, now the next thing.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go back a slide there. I might point out that in the ActionFlow system, the timing piece has got a lot more capability today than it did just a couple of years ago. So a lot of great work being done with our friends at ActionFlow to make this analysis that much more powerful.
Absolutely. One of the neat things about a enterprise resource planning system like ActionFlow is that it's a tool to capture all of this and track along it. So thank you, and please continue to jump in as you can connect the ActionFlow tools to what we're talking about in this efficiency talk. So we've got what it is we do and the sequence that we do it in and how long it ought to take and what the ultimate outcomes are. We've defined that. All right. Now we need to allocate resources to it and schedule in a way to achieve our goal, to make money. So with allocating resources, we need people. We need our talent in the right roles and the right seats on the bus, as it were. We need our salespeople running the sales process, our customer service people running the project management process, and so on and so forth. All right. We need the appropriate tools and equipment to get the job done. We need the right facilities, supplies, and materials, and we need the appropriate capital available to keep everything running as we ramp up or as we deal with the ups and downs of the market that we're in. So allocating resources is key to make sure that flow happens. Who's going to make sure it happens, and how are they going to do it? And then we want to actually set the system up to be profitable. So that's where we level load. We want to know what our break even is. When does that throughput match that operating expense annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, right? We want to choose a profitability target. This is where we say, pick a productivity score of a 1.3, for example. That way you'll ensure profitability because you'll have a margin over that break even. You want to set your productivity score, and then you want to schedule by T dollars. You want to schedule the release of what you put through your plant based on what you need to be profitable. Now, our system is set up to do its purpose, its intent, which is make money. We've got that set. All right. Now the work is to follow the process, run your shop. But as you run your shop, as you do this content in sequence within the timeframes that you're doing the outcomes, you want to make sure that you obey the rules of flow. So I'm going to give you some rules of flow here, and I'll share these with you. And certainly, you're always welcome to reach out to us afterwards and ask for clarity, and we should have some time for Q&A at the end of this talk. This is where most shops go wrong. If they've made it this far, running the process, executing the process seems to be where we go off the rails. So the first thing we want to do is avoid bad multitasking. Control your whip. We install gates into your system. We install a release valve, basically, that says, here's the work that's ready to go. We want to make sure that it goes through at a level load. So level load means that we don't have waves of work coming through our plant that throws off our ability to predict what's going on and sends us into a tailspin. All right. So we want to control the work in process. We want to verify full kit before getting going. Now, this is important because if you don't have everything you need to start work on the work, it's going to come back to bite you. Many of you guys have experienced or are currently experiencing that you release work in, but you didn't have all the information you needed, or it didn't turn out that the customers was ready for you to install when it comes down time to install. And you've got stuff coming off the schedule and going onto the schedule, and there's rush and there's not enough information. So verifying you have everything you need, a full kit, before you start, before you release work into your production process and into your shop is really important. Triage, to ensure that you're working on the right priorities. This is just the discipline of scheduling, making sure that you've got the right things going in the right order. All right. Your scheduler is the hub of your business when it comes to ensuring that your process is followed. Your scheduler determines, what do we need? What needs to happen starting today in order to hit those install dates and in order to leverage our resources in the best way possible. So this is a key role to have a lot of focus on, and it's one that we spend a good amount of time on when we work with our clients. Ensure synchronization between your tasks, your people, and your resources. All right, this is just making sure everybody understands their role in the mix. They're working on the right things in the right order, and they're handing off appropriately. If information's not making it from your project management department to your template department or your programmers, we need to make sure that gets synchronized. If you keep going back to the same projects and you don't get the desired results, look into the option to increase the dosage. What this means blanketly is that if it feels like you're not getting what you need out of the work that you're doing, establish a higher dosage of attention to a particular set of work. All right. Because if we're doing too much, or we're too scattered and we're not going deep enough, we don't have thorough enough quality checks, we don't have thorough enough communication, and we're just pushing work through, we may need to reestablish what the intensity of that work is. So instead of just doing one Tylenol, we might need to get 2 in order to get the job done, is the idea there. Avoid unnecessary rework by finding what causes it. All right, take the time when you find yourself doing rework to investigate the cause. What went wrong? What was the exception? And then standardization is recommended when improvising is costly. So when we're doing things based on experience or based on whatever we feel is right in the mode, and that's having costly repercussions. We want to really understand that type of situation and build a process, a decision process, and a work through process so that we can avoid costly errors if it's a cost driving our operating expenses up. All right, so if we're routinely breaking really expensive material, we probably want to standardize how it is we handle that material, how it is what we protect that material's integrity. And then we want to abolish local efficiency measures. Overall system efficiency is what matters most. Actually, it's the only thing that matters. So what does this mean? This means that as you're running your shop, focus on how the shop is doing. This is why we schedule throughput at a level load, is because that's the measure that matters. Are we on track? Is that progressing through our system at the rate that we would expect? If we're worried about all the local efficiencies, is the programmer busy? Is the fabricator busy? Are the installers busy? Are the material handlers busy? Is the janitor busy? Are the if we're trying to get everybody to be busy, we've completely lost track of what we want to be doing in order to achieve a profitable shop. All right. The goal is that the shop gets stuff through. The shop produces things, and we work with folks exactly how to leverage this structure and how to leverage these rules to know exactly where in the shop to measure in order to achieve that overall system efficiency. All right, so these are your rules of flow. If you have questions about them or want to know how to implement them in your business, please reach out and ask. Because the next step, that's an execution. That's just do the work. Do it to the best of your ability. Follow the rules of flow. But if you want to get more efficient, this is going to require more study into the resources that you have, the equipment that you have, the people capability that you have, and what all can you move through your plant. So how much profit is possible? How much to set the level load? So this is asking, what is the upper limit of what we can put through our plant? How much work can we do? How much throughput can we squeeze through this thing? And we are all about the idea that there is a constraint. All right, there's not infinite capacity that you can do. There's a limiter on what you can actually put through your plant, and we want to know that what that is, because we don't want to overshoot that and just create a mess. But we want to get really good at it so that we can slowly, fully optimize our plant, and that's where more efficient comes from. All right, so the way we do that is first we identify the constraints. What are the limiting capacities of our plant? What's the max utilization? We want to exploit those constraints. We need a plan for how to squeeze the most amount through that resource. We want to subordinate anything that has extra capacity to that plan of exploit of the constraints. Because if we're worried about making our non-constraints efficient, well, there's no reason to, because if anything, that means that we're flooding our system with work or getting them to work on non-value added tasks. So again, we want to subordinate them to the exploit decision. Then and only then do we look at the elevate options, which is how do we invest in people? How do we invest in more equipment and those sort of things? But the key is we don't want to stop. So the back end of our process, we've already done the first few steps, which is define the system, what's the goal of the system, and how we measure and run that goal. But to get really good at improving and focusing our efforts on being more efficient, we want to define the constraint in step 4. What is limiting results? We want to exploit that. What are our strategies and tactics for going after that? We want subordinate strategies and tactics in order to achieve that with our non-constraint resources. And then later we can get into elevating, and ultimately we want to keep the continuous improvement process going. All right, that's the gist of it. See, what we're after are results. So track everything. And this is where an ActionFlow tool is very helpful, because it's where you log everything. It's your central information hub. You want to know your numbers and you want to keep getting better. All right. There's all kinds of measures that you can impact. These are just a few of them. But is there value in getting our template to install lead time down? Yes. Right. This is our turnaround time. This is how much work in process that we allow in our system that gets between a new job and delivery to the customer. So we have seen that this can be as low as you can move your business to. Fundamentally, how fast does it take something to move through your plant? But it's an industry norm that we've found that has been achievable and maintainable in keeping control with the system, that we can beat 6 days template to install. All right, so that's an efficient process today within the industry. We want a throughput ratio, and this is the throughput in comparison to revenue. So we believe, based on what we've seen, that 65% and greater is very achievable working with folks. We believe callbacks, the amount of times you got to go back, can be done in less than 5%. We get that measure regularly. And there's available capacity that we can open up when we focus on the rules of flow and we do this process a few iterations. We can open up towards 40% more capacity. That's more efficiency, more use of our limited resources that you've got so much invested into. That's opened up for additional flow to come through. We see productivity scores of 1.4. That's a phenomenal score, but we see it and we see it maintained. We see return on sales of greater than 15%. That's what it's all about. We see less work in process, higher inventory turns, less overtime, more understanding of overtime, higher team engagement, less chaos, higher conversion rates. Guys, when your ops team is killing it, your sales team, it just makes their job that much easier to go sell it because they believe in what they can deliver. Higher trust, greater transparency, more data, and more insights into what's going on in the company, more business value multipliers. So some of you guys are looking to, how do I build this business so it's really efficient, really runs well, runs without me even, and maybe I can sell it for some great value. Well, that's what you can do when you measure and put this efficiency focus into effect. Greater work and personal life balance, scale more profitably, and when times get tough, the more efficient you are, the more you're able to avoid layoffs and keep that stability in place so that when the market picks back up, you can take it on without missing a beat. Know your numbers, keep getting better. That's the name of the game when it comes to efficiency. The best time to get started and to act is right now. Take action, becoming efficient with your shop, and don't wait. Do it now. Go out there. Do the steps. What is the flow? What's the content sequence, timing, and outcome? Right? What is the profitability score we want to shoot for? And let's make it the target. Let's make sure the resources are allocated appropriately. Let's go out there and execute, following the rules of flow, and then let's get the continuous improvement process on. You can do it yourself. All right? You can go out there and make it work. You can do it with a coach. You can be guided as you go make it work. You can get our consulting help, or we'll come on site and do it for you, or do it with you, or some combination, help you to execute faster than you might on your own. All right. Right now, I want you to think about, what are the top 5 challenges? How do you get started? Are there things that you want to accomplish? And you can scan this barcode to complete a form. It'll link you to a web form. And if you complete that, it's a good little exercise of what are some of the areas in your business that you could provide focus on. I'd love for you to complete that. While you're doing that, as we're at 2:30 now, we'll come to a close, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I see already that there might be some questions in the chat. So any questions that you have, would love to hear what you have to say about efficiency in your workplace.
Giving people a chance. I just will jump in here real quick while we're waiting for some questions to come through. Well, looks like Roderick has a question, so we'll let Roderick ask his question.
Sorry, I clicked on the
No, that's
wrong
all right.
button. My error.
That's all right.
Hey, I have a comment. I can't get into the chat for some reason. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't actually type into the chat window.
I'll look into it.
Yep. Okay.
That's
Well-
the button I was trying to hit too, Rick.
The
It's
rail's
that
working.
same error that we've gotten before in these webinars where it says chat is only available during the meeting.
Correct. That's what I got.
Microsoft Teams making some updates there.
Let's see. I see one question here from Tiffany at TPI. TPI does not have the sales or CSR section in our engine. How do we add these sections? Sorry, no way to. All right. So yeah. So when it comes to these sections, one is they're there. They're just not made articulate. Right? They've not been visually mashed out or meshed out or fleshed out. So if you're interested in doing that with us, be sure to reach out to our team. Tiffany, reach out to Ken and say, hey, how can we get that version of the engine so that we can replicate that there?
It's actually in your system. We just need to expose it.
Yeah, it's there. It's just hidden because it's more complexity at some part in the process, perhaps.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and think about that content sequence timing and outcome, right? Just because we haven't fleshed out that area doesn't mean that it can't be fleshed out more. And we call one area just a simple term, right? You know, if it's program, that's program, but you can flesh that out into as much as many steps and steps and specific areas that you need. One thing I would encourage that that you don't go too far into the weeds, because at some point you're no longer working on the constraint. You're working on now a non-constraint. And any additional improvement you do in a non-constraint may feel better, may be more standardized, but your efforts really ought to be on how do we squeeze more money through the system, and not worried as much as how do we get every single step accounted for and every little thing managed. That's part of the local efficiency versus global optima that we talk about, one of the rules of flow.
Sherry asked if you can go back to the screen showing implementing options.
You bet.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she had more questions on that or not.
Yeah.
Trying to scan. But I will go ahead and jump in now and just say, when ActionFlow first learned about Synchronous Flow, we sat down with Rick and Ed and all those guys and just talked about their philosophy and our philosophy. It just married so well. They provide the coaching and the knowledge of where should I focus my time, energy, and effort to make improvements. And like Mark said, ActionFlow has great tools for capturing that data to go ahead and look at where we need to focus at. So with that $T quoting, $T scheduling, issue tracking, and then the accountability as well. I thought one thing when Mark was showing the process map, that's ActionFlow term, process map in there, of just, you can create any process you want, but if no one is following it, then that's kind of a moot point. So the accountability of knowing this is what we're doing, everyone seems to be following it, versus this is what we're doing, nobody's seeming to follow it, are two different problems that you're trying to solve, and can relieve a lot of headaches of trying to figure out what's going wrong. So I just wanted to point that out, and very excited and happy to continue to work with Synchronous Solutions on all those ideas.
Absolutely. There's a reason I put that red flag on that slide.
Yeah, that's right.
is because just because it exists doesn't mean that we're doing it. And sometimes we're doing the content, but out of sequence. The timing is anyone's guess, and the outcome is whoever is on the team decides the outcome they need to be. How good the quality is based on your person and that's running the step. So to get that down in place, definitely leverage the tools and create. This is an area for managerial oversight, right? One is how structured do you want to be, and again, it's this. You want to standardize the areas that are costly if you don't. Those are the first areas to focus. Great question, Sherry, and Rick's answer. Yeah, we have provided a whole lot of resources on our website with things that you can put into place. There's articles. If you go into our blog section, there's articles, and we're going to be releasing a lot of content that that can allow you to go put these things to play. We want what to do to be out there and available. There's a whole lot of books about synchronous flow science, not limited to just what we do within the industry. This is a global science that's used in companies around the globe. The Goal is a book that we recommend to everyone we work with. The Goal by Ellie Goldratt. That's a book that has been around since the 80s. It's one of a whole library worth of books on the subject matter, and it's mandatory reading for every executive in companies like Amazon and Apple. So this science is out there. There's a lot of what to do in there. The coaching side is because when you try to do something yourself, you do it with, you're limited by what your experience is. And if it's a first time through, you might be focused in the wrong area or misinterpret things. So the coaching is the idea that you pair up, and we have a coaching business through Action Coach, and we follow a system there. But we have programs where we can guide you in your professional development as an individual within a company, as the owner of a company, as a manager of the company, and we can provide you with what you need when you need it. So instead of going, okay, I need to do this large body of work, we can help you explain, like, step one, map your flow. Okay, if we're struggling with that, here's where to do that. Here's some tools to use. Let's do it together. The coach becomes your partner that allows you. You still need to do the work, but they allow you to make sure that you're working on the right next thing and in the appropriate order. So thank you, Narelle, for your shout out there. But our coaching programs, if you're curious about those, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you about that potential partnership. And anything that you work on, we've had folks that started self-implementing. They did that based on our articles with Slippery Rock Gazette and a number of other areas. And then along the way, they reached out and said, hey, I've done all this, but I'd like you to come in and bring it all to maturity and bring my team on board. So wherever you start, there's opportunities. And again, we look to partner with businesses on this journey of business to make sure that it gets in the right context. It becomes a tool for our lives to go right. So happy to talk with you there. And Sherry, I'd love to chat with you. I know that it's been a year and a half or so since we last touched base, but wishing you well out in Gillette.
Yeah. Hey, I'll jump in here with just a few quick comments.
Please.
Number one, I read Sherry saying, we have done some work with you in the past, but never really implemented. I mean, I appreciate that honesty. You know, like, we're implementing software, they're implementing these concepts. I think that's probably the rule rather than the exception. This is just hard. So, you know, I mean, thank you, Mark. This was all good stuff. And you talked about, like, you go through it and then you go through it again and then you go through it again. I mean, I would just encourage everyone to not be discouraged, but have persistence in making these things work. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. And, you know, Mark, you use the term squeezing. You want to squeeze the money out. I'm becoming increasingly convinced that there's a lot of water in that sponge. I mean, you would be amazed at how much more efficient and that you can be through ActionFlow and implementing some of these concepts. And finally, and I was just a little late, I apologize, but maybe you mentioned this, but I want to emphasize again, we're having this Profits and Peace retreat sponsored by ActionFlow. Synchronous Solutions is one of our platinum sponsors. And, we're going to be in St. Louis for 2 days, and we'll be eating dinner with each other, and you can talk to these guys, you can talk to other fabricators, and just really dive in depth. Our goal is to create a community of fabricators that are dedicated to implementing best practices, and we're trying to do that in a lot of ways. But one really nice way is this Profits and Peace retreat that we have in St. Louis. So we'd love to get you there, and we could dive into this all of this stuff. We're going to both having sessions, talking about this stuff, but also just like around the dinner table, or between sessions, whatever. It's a great opportunity to talk with Rick and Mark and other fabricators.
Yeah.
Reese stole my thunder. I was going to mention again, but that's all right.
The goal of efficiencies is what gets focused on gets attention. What gets attention gets improved. If you go out and you focus somewhere in your business, it's going to get better. The challenge is that area getting better, improving your business. If you're focused in production and there's no leads, there's no sales, then nothing you're doing there is going to actually help drive the bottom line of your business. So you want to apply the focus in the right area. And we want to teach that in the sense of we guide where to focus. So if here's your current situation, let's make your current situation stable. And once it's stable, we do that through the making sure we know what the current situation is, what the flow is, who's working on what, in what order, what time, what sequence. When we have that in place, then our area goes to what's not flowing. Where are the hangups? And that focus is what you want to get your team aligned in their efforts, because everybody focused in their own area in a silo is not doing you any service. So the ERP approach gets everyone focused in the right area. What you want to make sure that even when you're in the system, that you as the owner of the business, the manager of the business or the area, is ensuring that the right area is getting the right attention and everybody else is aligned to that attention. And what they're doing is enabling that place to get there. So there's a major managerial aspect that falls out of what we do. And whether we start with management or we get there eventually, the material flow question will always be subordinate to information flow. Information flowing is everything in business. Some businesses only have information flowing. There is no material processing. So while that gets much less tangible, the process is the same, the effort is the same. It's still prioritize, focus, finish what gets going on. And as long as you're putting effort and going, what is preventing my business from making more money? What is preventing information from getting from this department to the other department? What is preventing material from getting processed at this particular step in a timely fashion? As long as you're asking those questions and going out there, you're going to learn about your business. Your team is going to learn about their roles within your business, and you're going to make progress. What we can bring to the table and what tools like ActionFlow bring to the table is we take the lessons learned and we've turned them into a framework, we've turned them into a system, a tool that you can go out there and make progress on a faster clip. So you're going to get, if you're success driven, you're going to be successful. No doubt in my mind, based on the folks that I've met and the time that they've been in the business and in the industry and the successes they've had over the years. If you want to go further and you want to go further faster, that's where employing outside help, that's where we can be a great service to you guys.
Yeah, ultimately, the constraint in your business will be in your capabilities and your team's capabilities, your leadership team's capabilities. And so if you want a more efficient and profitable business, invest in yourself, invest in your tools, and invest in your team. So, starts with you.
All right. Anybody have any questions? You got me for 15 minutes, or we can call it early.
Yep. And by the way, a great investment in yourself is showing up in St. Louis and interacting with your peers and with Reese and Mark and myself and Roderick and all the other great folks are going to be there.
Just put the link in the chat one more time if you want to register. So that's up. Yeah, we're going to have great sessions. Like we said, Rick, Roderick, Reese, the 3 R's, not reduce, reuse, recycle, but Rick, Roderick, Reese. They're all going to be there, pick their brains. And we'd love to see you out there. And then another reminder, ActionFlow will be at the ASF event, All Slab Fabbers event in Aiken, March 20th and 21st. Then we'll also be at the Stone Fabricators Alliance event, March 27th and 28th in Florida. So we'd love to see you there. And then last call for questions for Mark, for Rick, Reese. Roderick's on this call too. You might get a little taste of the retreat. But
anyone have a specific efficiency issue you're dealing with? You joined a webinar called Shop Efficiency for a reason. Here's your opportunity to get some complimentary coaching.
there you go.
Well, while they're all thinking about it, I just thought I would show off the next generation of McKinney Kyle. For those of you who have been on this journey with me and knew that this is my first grandbaby, he just walked in the room. So we'll just take that opportunity. Okay, carry on.
I love it. I love that.
This is why peace is so important, because we got to have peace for that little one right there.
He is going to have a deep and intuitive understanding of T-dollars and how they can improve their profitability.
Yep. That is for sure.
Learning indoctrination, there's not
Yeah.
much of a difference there.
Mark got steeped in this starting in high school. That little one will have it starting in preschool.
There you go. So,
That's awesome.
All right.
I'm going to check out. Take care, everybody. See you in St. Louis.
As you guys leave, if you can take a moment and say, what's the top learning you took away from this quick session today? Put that in the chat. Let it stick in by sharing it.
all right.
And Maria, I
Yep.
want to draw attention. Maria, thank you for sharing on our newsletter. We do have a newsletter that's released weekly with new content, updates on events, different programs. We use it as a kind of catch-all for communication. So that's it. Didn't even think about that, but definitely get on that newsletter so that you can stay up to date with different tips, different learnings that we have, different content that we put out there. Our content comes out of inspiration from our clients and what we see and what we work through with folks. All right, guys. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you, ActionFlow team. Great to see you guys. Familiar faces. Great to meet some of you who are unfamiliar.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for being here. We'll send this recording out, and thanks for taking the time.
Beautiful. Thank you.